There's a crap ton of like these kind of blue bottle flies all on these branches. You can see them, bare branches, leafy branches, just clustered all in here. And I don't know why. Hey there. Today I'm at Lazy J Ranch. This is a nice little area of dryland Miombo woodland in the southwest of Lusaka. It is a bit of a sanctuary and reserve area that the owners maintain for people to enjoy as part of a membership scheme for the ranch, but then also as a means also for their cattle to be grazing through. But it is a fantastic little patch of remnant Miombo that would have been much more widespread across this area many years ago. And it's just a lovely place to come and walk and kind of forget the busyness and craziness of the city and just to be back out in nature. So it is very dry at this time of year, but let's go have a look and see what there is to see here. So here we have a series of dams, and these have been created by the landowner as a means of trying to trap a bit of the rainwater that flows through this kind of little valley section between escarpment ridges here. And this is a means of trying to slow the water and actually allow them to have water for their cattle into the drier season. This past year we actually had a really bad rainy season, so most of these have dried up in terms of the actual standing water, but you can still actually see how useful it is in terms of how green the grass still is in the lower sections of it. This also then provides an opportunity for other plants that do like a little bit more moisture to really get established and to grow well. And that's kind of demonstrated just on the edge of the dam wall there, where we've got a bit more kind of riverine vegetation that is growing and stuff. So it's nice that this has been done in such a way that can create more habitat for those species that are not going to be as readily available to grow, especially on the drier slopes of the escarpment hills here. But you'll see the footprints of cattle and all sorts of things that will be coming here to drink during when the water is still showing. And these grasses, which will be more prone to wanting to be in wet locations by comparison. I should also point out that it's not just cattle that are in here. They do also still have small game and things like that are in here. So just looking around, I see what looks to be smaller footprints of something like Dika, or maybe one of the smaller buck species that will be here as well. So a source of open water for any animal is actually really important to maintain the biodiversity of the space. So here we have the little fruits of one of the trees growing in this clump. This is in the Rhamnaceae family. This is the ziziphus species. They are edible, but usually they're actually quite insipid, and these are very dry. They usually should be not quite double the size, but they would normally be a little bit bigger, and sought after by birds and then some of the other smaller mammals that will be in the Miombo as well. It's actually a fairly good crop, despite the fact that we've had the drought, and I'm pretty certain that is owing to the fact that it's here right next to where the dam wall is, so it does get seepage water for a lot longer during the year than most of the surrounding trees, especially up on the hillsides effectively. I don't think as many people quite realize how rich the Miombo woodland is in fruits and edible fruits for wildlife, but also for human consumption, because actually people will also still eat these. not as commonly, but they are a treat, sometimes even sold in the marketplace and stuff like that. And yeah, this is very, very dry, but not too bad a taste. It's producing the fruits. This is, you know, essentially what one of the local types of masao is. But it being here in this kind of little pocket where the dam walls line, it gets a little bit more moisture, holds on, probably taps underneath into the dam area and is able to stay evergreen. And that's then growing together with the Cassia abbreviata and Euclea, it looks like Euclea Schimperi, and a few other trees that are more or less actually termitaria specialists, things that would normally grow on termitaria where nutrient content is higher and moisture content is more available. And just looking at it here a little better as well, I see we have one of our indigenous epiphytic orchids also growing on here. Not in flower at the moment, but definitely growing quite happily, probably getting a little extra moisture. So, you know, these kinds of little habitats are very important to stimulating biodiversity, because once you get this little kind of thicket-esque kind of growth establishing, there's a lot more things that draw in things like birds and insects, and then that diversity starts to yield even more as bird droppings bring in seeds from other places. The insects then bring in even more birds, which increases that biodiversity further. Even then to then come in and feed on these berries and things like that. We have a little shrubby member of the mint family, Lamiaceae. This is Rothica wildii. Usually most of the year it's kind of insignificant, but again, it tries to take advantage of early pollinators at this time of year by putting out its flowers. And you can kind of see how intricate they are. So the insect would have to come and land on here, and then obviously its weight would depress the stamens to touch it, dusting pollen on it effectively. But kind of a nice one in terms of that purple color of one of the petals on this central aspect of the flower. You know, I've been coming to Lazy J for many, many years, and I still really have no idea how and why this thing formed. Like, these are channels. In the rainy season, this partially does fill with water. You do get it filling, and then obviously it drains away. But as I say, like, I don't even understand how this thing formed. You don't see, you know, a cavern or anything like that. If there was some kind of underground sinkhole, like underground open area, I don't know what would have literally had to happen for it to just collapse like this. Because presumably for a very long time it probably was an interesting cave. This is a hugely rare occurrence in terms of Lusaka, because this is more well known from higher rainfall areas further up in northern Zambia. And there's a mature tree of it just over here to the side. And this is about the first time that I'm noticing that you're getting seedlings about, because there's one here, there's one there, there's one up in these little drainage areas. So it's obviously something that really enjoys this kind of rocky drainage channels. And it's nice to see. But it's a lovely evergreen tree. And it's a very interesting species in that the flowers are cauliferous. So they will come off of the main kind of stem just underneath the rosette of leaves. I originally came because I wanted to see if I could find any flowers on the stems of the Anglerophytum, but I don't see. But I did see another indigenous epiphytic orchid that's just growing over there. what is the name of it now? Something Christianum. That's gonna bother me. Anyways, if we can come around, if we go around, Jono, I can show you the orchid over there. But you see all the flies. I wonder if it's actually the flowers of the Sanguinophyton, if they are giving out the scent. Yeah, because I would have almost expected, if there was something that has died, for the flies to be at it at the moment, not just spread about, whereas they are kind of congregating all on the stems, which is interesting. And these flowers look like they've finished, or they're not quite open yet, so I'm not sure. Anyways, strange, very interesting. So this is a smaller specimen, obviously still mature. It's got the flowers starting to develop, or having finished already, just underneath the rosettes of leaves. So as I was saying earlier, this is cauliflorus, where the flowers form right on stems, be it on these younger twigs, or even actually there's some that are forming on some of the older branches here. I don't see, oh no, okay, even a very few on the main stems, not too many. But actually I came down here through this little drainage channel that in heavy rains would obviously be moving water from the woodland, draining water from the woodland, surrounding woodland, into the sinkhole that we've just seen. And I did spot this little epiphytic orchid here. Another one of our kind of xerophytic epiphytes. We don't have too many that will grow in the drier Miombo woodland. There's a much greater diversity of epiphytes growing in the wet Miombo woodland in northern parts of Zambia, effectively. But this is one of ours that can deal with these much drier conditions, despite the fact that it is evergreen. The leaves on this are starting to curl in. It is obviously experiencing some level of water stress, but you have to look at these orchids as being essentially succulents. You know, they'll store water in their roots, they'll store water in their leaves, they'll store water in their stems, effectively. This one hasn't put on any new flowers this year. I see buds just starting to form on it. There was one flower that got pollinated last year. It hasn't quite ripened yet, but it will probably ripen as the rains are beginning, to then spread those seeds, and hopefully one or two of those seeds will get established on another tree in the area. I don't see any other specimens of this orchid around. The name is escaping me at the moment. I remember that the last part of the name is Christianum, and it's unfortunate. You know, usually I'm really good with all the names, but today I'm having a bit of a brain block on that one. But it's nice to see. This one can be really common at times, or can be quite sparse. And I think here in Lazy J, I've only ever seen it, you know, a handful of times, not hugely common, but nice to see here in this little drainage channel. The roots for epiphytes are as much about anchoring as it is about being able to then draw in nutrients. You know, they have to be able to absorb a lot of nutrient or of water during the time of year when rains are falling. And they don't, unlike roots in the ground, they don't have the benefit of producing many little, you know, side roots or root hairs. It really has to rely on its network of fungi and things like that to be able to draw in. And then once the water's in there, hold it in there as well. So, you know, epiphytes are absolutely stunning and strange, strange plants all at the same time. And yeah, I think we are going to leave that for today. It is still really dry. There are obviously things that are blooming at the moment, but you have to cover a lot more ground to kind of come across them. And now we are getting about to midday. We're getting into the heat of the day. Time to head back to the car, get something to drink and maybe something to eat, and then we'll make our way. Cheers.